Very good morning to all. In today's session, we're all going to learn about the demand forecasting and inventory planning. So let's begin with the definition of demand forecasting. So what is exactly the forecasting is? Forecasting refers to one of the practice of predicting what will happen in the future considering all the events or all the past and present events. It also refers to a decision making tool that helps the businesses to cope up the impact of the future uncertainty by examining the historical data and trends. It is also called a planning tool that enables the businesses to chat up the next processes or moves and create the budgets that will hopefully cover whatever the uncertainties may occur in the future. Let's talk about the examples of the forecasting. One of the example is clothing retailer. What would be the role of the forecasting in such aspect? Forecast demands is the upcoming season using the historical sales data to determine that how much the stock to order based on both past trends and the factors that could be considered like the expected weather or the new fashion trends. The next one is the auto manufacturer. Let's take an example, Ford. It uses the historical monthly sales data to forecast the demand for the specific models like F-150 to schedule the production and the manage inventory. The next one is a beverage company. Let's talk about the Coca-Cola. It also forecasts the demands in different regions to plan the production schedule and almost you can say focused on about the bottling capacity to meet up the anticipated customer needs and requirements. And the last one is the journal retailer. It also uses the supply chain forecasting to ensure the correct products should be available at the right time and place to ultimate consumers, minimizing the stock out and the you can say lost sales. Let's talk about the next section that's called the nature of forecast. Forecasting is an educated guess about the future based on the present and the past data. It also involves making predictions that can be compared to the actual outcomes in order to find out the variations or the changes exist for the future. The nature of the forecast is mainly subjective because it's all based on the estimations, calculations about the future, and it's totally based on the in order to you can say know about the uncertainties that could be arise in the future. Next is need for forecast. The first one is the decision making. Forecast helps business to make an informed decisions regarding the resource allocation, production, budgeting, etc. The next one is the risk management. Forecasting is also help to identify the potential risks and plan for the uncertainties going to occur in the future. Next one is planning. Forecasting is crucial for the strategic planning, and the planning it's related to the set up the sales targets, manage the inventory levels, etc. Next is goal setting. It allows the organization to set the realistic goals and measure performances against them. Next is journal steps in the forecasting process. It defines objectives. So one of the major first initial step is what would be the objectives so that the forecasting setup could goes on. So to identify the purpose and what you need to forecast, that is also important to know so that the forecasting setup could goes on. Next is establish a time horizon. It also determine the period the forecast will cover, either it would be the short term period or a long term or the medium. Next is gather data. It is very important to collect the relevant historical data and other information as well. Next is analyze data. So once after gathering the data or the useful data, then look up for the trends, the patterns and the relationship exist in the data. Next is select a forecasting technique. Choose an appropriate method based on the data and objectives. Build and validate the model. It also uses the chosen technique, either the qualitative or the quantitative, to create the forecast and check for the accuracy level. Next is monitor and update. It also track the actual results against the forecast and revise the forecast process as needed according to the requirements of the organization. Next section is a source of data for forecasting. There are various sources, but the most important sources for forecasting are as follows. The first one is the internal records. Internal records refers the historical sales data, past financial statements, production logos or logs or the files are the primary sources. Next is the market research. It refers to a surveys, interviews, questionnaires, any focus group discussion which could provide an insight into a customer preferences and requirements. Next is economic data. It also refers to an information on economic trends, inflation, any interest rates, where the information related to the economic variables which could be measurable, which could be verifiable and can be used for the macroeconomic forecast as a whole. Next is expert opinion. Qualitative data from industry experts can be valuable, especially for the new or uncertain markets. The next section is a selection of a suitable forecasting technique. The best technique, it totally depends on the specific needs, the data availability and the desired accuracy level. And there are various methods which could be used in order to understand the situations, the circumstances on which such methods of forecasting or the such techniques of forecasting could be adopted. The first one is the simple methods. Moving averages or the trend projections are very much suitable for the, you can say, stable situations with the use of historical data. Next is the quantitative methods. There are various techniques like simple or multiple linear regressions are used when there are clear relationships which needs to find out between the variables. Next is the time series method. Exponential smoothing is also useful for data with trends or the seasonality. Next methods are the qualitative methods. The one of the technique, the best technique to use in the qualitative data, that's called a Delphi method or the market research, are appropriate when there is a lack of historical data or the past events or for any new products. Next is sophisticated methods. Econometric models or mathematical models are used for complex situations that involves a numerous economic variables. Next is the qualitative methods. So what are the different methods comes under the qualitative techniques? The first one is the executive opinion. Executed opinion forecasting methods. It could be where the top level executives are always come together to discuss about the future of the company or discuss about the issues that could occur in the future or any upcoming business period, that exactly called the executive opinion. Let's take an example to understand, like the CEO, the COO, and the vice presidents of the sales and marketing. They come together to discuss and decide where the company sales are headed. Next is Delphi method. Delphi method of forecasting is a trustworthy advisor in the industry that also provides the opinions about the future movements. Then another group experts always compiles and interpreted that opinions, that views, and analyze it to a decision makers. So Delphi method is one of the method where it provides the opinions about the future movements by a team of an experts, and another group of experts is always analyze that opinions and interpreted for to have a good or meaningful decision making. Next is Salesforce prediction. Sales executives are the ones who work on the ground level of any thriving market where their opinions are most essential. So in this method, sales representatives or the teams gather their data and experience to project the future sales opportunities. Next is customer surveys. In the customer surveys methods, business always asks about their experiences or the valuable feedback about the products and services. Like the customers are provided with a survey form or a new or existing products to observe their behavior towards the products and services. The next category is a quantitative method. The first one is a naive forecasting. Naive forecasting method, it always considers the previous sales year data and uses to forecast the future sales. That means in order to find out the future sales, the previous sales data will be used to examine. Let's take an example. If you sold 100 smartphones the last sales season, then this season your ideal sales goal is 100 smartphones. That means it's totally depend on the past data. So if you have in the past, if somebody has sold 150 smartphones, then in the future 150 smartphone would be your sales target. And if something happens, it's called naive forecasting. Next is moving average method. Considering the average of the past sales period or apply to forecast upcoming periods, that exactly called the moving average methods. If the average sales of the last 4 sales period is 140, then the coming period will be in that range as well. It could be 140, it could be 145, it could be 150. When any calculation will be done in the upcoming period, and that would be the range for that 4 sales period only. And if something happens when the ranges will need to calculate of the sales period, it could be the 4, 3 or 2 sales period, it becomes the moving average method. Next one is exponential smoothing method. It applies to the weighted average method when looking at the moving averages, and it totally depends on the moving average method only, where the weighted mean or a weighted range is to be calculated, which is totally based on the moving averages. For example, if you're selling ice cream, you should weight the January to March differently than July to September. So this is how the differently weighted of the period which of the various sales period is try to be calculated. Next one is the trend projection. Trend projection forecasting method is all about predicting the future trends based on the market situations and historical data. So the company which having a sufficient data on their past sales can efficiently utilize this method. For example, if you sell 200 to 300 stationery units during the new educational period, then you should maintain that inventory in your warehouses as well. So this is something, if you're willing to sell some more and more, yeah, you can see larger units, then that larger units should also be available in the warehouses, and as a result we can, a particular researcher can easily draw the trend of your sales, you can say, of units. Distinguish between a quantitative and the qualitative forecasting. The first one is a data type. Under the quantitative forecasting, objective numerical data will be used, but qualitative is more subjective. A non-numerical data will be used, where the customer, where the expert opinion, customer views or surveys or the market research will be conducted under the qualitative forecasting. Basis for prediction. Quantitative forecasting refers to a mathematical formulas and historical data, which is totally based on the historical data as well, where the moving average method could be used, exponential smoothing method would be used, and we can also talk about the regression models, the mathematical models which could be used in the quantitative forecasting. But under the qualitative forecasting, judgments, intuition, expert opinion are the more basis for the prediction, for the forecasting about the sales, about the new products or services, etc. Next is best use case. It is best suitable for all those situations with sufficient historical data and predictable trends. But when we talk about the qualitative, are new products, new markets, or situations where the historical data are not available. So if any historical data is available, anyone can use the quantitative forecasting. But if there is no historical data is available, then for any new products, new services, markets, or new situations, then the qualitative forecasting is best suitable for that. Let's talk about the advantages. It considered more robust and the rest prone to biases. That means less chances of any errors or mistakes. But when we talk about the qualitative, it can incorporate the new information and new data that numbers alone cannot. Let's talk about the disadvantages. It lacks, you can say, content and the nuisance, and it can be rigid as well. But qualitative forecasting can be subjective, can be prone to be errors such as anchoring events or a selective perception. Next is examples. It could be the time series analysis, regression analysis, any other mathematical analysis as well, or used any mathematical or statistical models in it. And when we talk about the qualitative, we can also talk about the few examples of it, like a Delphi method, focus discussion groups, expert panels, etc., or are the few examples which comes under the qualitative forecasting. This is a numerical example that calculates the 3 months moving average for the following monthly demand and forecast demand for period 13. as it has been the 12 months data has been given and their demand in units is also been given. Then we have to apply the moving average method for the monthly demand and also to calculate the forecast demand for the 13 month. So let's begin with the calculation. So this is a solution which has been mentioned. The time period is given, it's 1 to 12 months, and monthly demand is also been given, that is 10, 105, 92, 128, 95, 101, 80, 83 and so on. Now we have to apply the moving average. So as it's mentioned in the question, it is a 3 months moving average method. So we have to consider 3 months of to calculate the moving average. So the first 3 months would be the 100, 105 and 93. So accordingly 92. So accordingly we just add the monthly demand of all these 3 months and divide it by 3, because we have to divide by 3 because it's a 3 months moving average. So once we divide by 3, we get 99 on the third month, because after all we are calculating the 3 months moving average. So at the end of the third month we have calculating the moving average amount, that's called, and it's estimated 99. So once we add up the first 3 values, that is 100 plus 105 plus 92 by 3, we get our moving average value, that's called 99. So now we can come up with the next 3 months value of monthly demand, that would be 105, 92 plus and 128. So 105 plus 92 plus 128 by 3, we get the moving average on 4th month, that would be the 108.33. So this is how we would calculate easily the moving average. So once we have calculated the 105, 92, 128, now we have to consider the next 3 months monthly demand data, that is 92 plus 128 plus 95 by 3, and we get it, the moving average amount, that is 105. Then again we have to consider the next 3 months data, then again next 3 months data, then again next 3 month data, again next, and so on. So we just easily calculated the moving average values of the monthly demand, that could be 99, 108.33, 105, 108, 92, 88, 91.33, 101, 104.66 and 97. So this is how we have estimated, like for example, if we have to calculate the moving average, the 97 has been estimated in the 12th month, then how it would be estimated? It's 111 plus 109 plus 94. Then easily we have estimated, by divide by 3, we can easily calculate the 97. So we just consider into the moving average the first 3 months, then again once we estimated the first moving average value, then again next 3, then again next 3. This is how the process goes on to calculate the moving average values. Now we can come up to the forecast. So the forecast is to be done after 3 months. Why? Because in the question it is mentioned to apply the 3 months moving average. So when we talk about the forecasting, is all about predicting the values for the future. So once the 3 months moving average, so after 3 months the forecasting values will be calculated, and accordingly the forecasting value is being estimated. It's 105 105 plus 92 plus 128 by 3, and so on. The same procedure will be estimated. So it is very easy process to forecast that on the third month the 99 value comes under the moving average method, and the so on values, the same values will be forecasted in the after 3 months under the forecast column. So as you can see, the values is also being written in the forecast column is 99. After 3 months the forecasting process would begin, and that would be based on the moving average values. That the values is already mentioned, we just copy that values as 99, 108.33 and so on. Now the next column is error. We need to calculate the error. It's very simple to estimate the error. That could be a difference between the monthly demand minus forecast. So this is how we can calculate the error. So 128 minus 99, it becomes 29. Then 95 minus 108.33, that becomes the minus 13.33. So there is a formula we used here, that how to calculate the error, that is a monthly demand minus forecast. So if in the question the error is need to be estimated, we must aware that there is a two values has to be given or has to be estimated. That could be the monthly demand and the forecast. So it could be any other variable is also being given. So that values, that variable values and forecast. So whatever the difference between comes between two of the values, we can easily calculate the error in it. So we have estimated by deducting these two values that 101 minus 105, it becomes minus 4, 80 minus 108 is minus 28, 83 minus 92, it becomes minus 9 and so on. So ultimately, if you look up the forecast, it's 99 till 104.667 and so on. So in the moving average, the 97 value is not being used for forecasting. There is no error has been estimated. Then ultimately the value, the forecast value for the 13th month is 97. So this is how you can easily estimate. So if any value left for forecasting in the particular question, then that value under the moving average, if any value left at the end, that value will be the forecast value for the upcoming month called a 13 month, that is 97. So this is what we have to estimate in this particular question, and this is a way that how the values is needed to be calculated. Now we can come up to the next question. From the following series of annual sales data, find the trend line by the method of semi-averages. Years are also being given from 2014 to 2022, and the actual values are also given in the question, that is 190, 251, 281. So here we have to use the method of semi-averages. So this is how we need to calculate in the following question or the solution. So this is a solution which has been mentioned on the slide. So the number of years, that is 9. So if you look up, the number of years is 9, which is odd. So automatically we have to segregate the equal numbers or the equal values, and accordingly we can calculate the semi totals. So automatically if you look up, the two equal parts will be drawn, that is 2014 to 2017 and 2019 to 2022, and the middle value has been ignored. So after all, it is in years are 9, so we have to segregate equally. We can consider 4 each, and the 1 year will be ignored. So we have considered the center year will be ignored, so that we can easily calculate the 4 years semi total. That means shift when any of the years with odd, we just easily convert into the even number. So that we have done in this particular question. So 4 years semi total. Why it is 4 mentioned? Because we have calculated or segregated the years into 4. So that's why the 4 years semi totals. So the actual values of the 4 years is 1009, and the semi average we just divide by 4. We can easily get the semi average value, and the middle year has been ignored because we have to take up on the top that first 4 and the bottom and 4 values. So that's why on the middle is left, we have ignored that. And you can apply this technique in the same questions if there any semi averages is being asked. So the bottom 4 values, it's the total of that is 1319, and the semi average just divide by 4. You can easily get the semi average value, that is 330 units. So this is how we calculate the semi average, which is very easiest method when it comes to the using of the other methods as well. So this is how through the diagrammatic presentation a trend line has been drawn. If you look up the semi-average blue line, the actual values has been drawn on the graph, and the trend line, which is the orange line, which is based on the semi-average, and the two values has been estimated, and the two values which is estimated is it's 252 and 330, and these values has been drawn in the orange, and we have already the semi averages value has been drawn in the orange line. If you look up the dots, the values has been you can see marked in the graph, and that trend line has been drawn in the orange color based on the two values, which totally the values of the semi averages. Now we can come up to the next question, where the company thinks of the annual earnings, you can say depends on the amount, and it totally depends on the spend on the researchers. So below the list of data of the previous 6 years, and of course what or when the cost is 6 units, calculate the profit. So if the cost is given of 6 units, how to calculate the profit based on the data which has been given. Years has been given 2014 to 2020. Expenditure for research is also given, that is X variable, and the annual profit is also given, that is Y variable. So this is how we need to estimate. And if you look up the 2020, the annual profit has need to be calculated, which shown in the question is question mark. So now this is a solution where we need to apply you can say the regression model, and regression model is a very simple or a direct method has been applied so that we can easily calculate the profit. So the the years has been given, X is also given, and the annual profit, that is Y, is also given. So we just need to, the formula of calculating the mean is very simple, that is say X bar is refers to the sigma X by N, and Y bar is equal to the sigma Y by N. So once we total of X and the total of Y, we put the values into the formula of mean of both variables and divided by the number of years or number of units is years has been given, so we use the number of years, that is 6. So once we divide the total of x by 6 and the total of y by 6, we can easily get the x bar and y bar. So x bar is 15 and the y bar is 17. So here we also need to formulate the equation, and the regression model equation is y is equal to a plus bx. Now this is an equation that we have to derive in from the question, but how to calculate the value of a and b? So this is a formula that we need to consider. So the value of b will be calculated using the formula, that is b sigma xy minus, we can talk about sigma x into sigma y upon or by b n by n into sigma x square minus sigma x whole square. So this is a formula of the value of b where the particular learner can easily calculate. I repeat the formula here, that is n sigma xy minus sigma x into sigma y by n sigma x square minus sigma whole square. So these values, now we need, why we have estimated xy x square, because in the formula it is clearly mentioned we need the values of x square and xy. Sigma x, sigma y we have already estimated, but we need to estimate the sigma xy and sigma x square. So now its x and y is already given, we can just multiply the x and y one of each year, and once we did it we can easily calculate the summation or total of xy. In other words, we can also call sigma xy which occurred, which has been estimated, that's called 6400. But when we talk about the x square, as x is 12, the square of 12 is 144. 13, the next year the 13 is x, that is 13. If we square the 13 we get the 169. Same in the 15 case, 225, 14, 196 and so on. So we can easily calculate it, the total of sigma xy and the total of sigma x square. So we have estimated all the values. Sigma xy we just put on 6400. So what was the values, that is n sigma xy. So n here is 6 into 6400 minus sigma x, that is 90, into 420 by n, that is 6 into x square, that is 1400. 6 into 1400 minus sigma x is 90 whole square. So whatever the calculations, we put the values in the formula, we have estimated the values by multiply and just divide, we get the value. We already estimated the value of b, that is 2. So once we get the value of b, that is 2, we can easily put that value in calculating the value of a, that is y bar minus bx bar. So y bar is a mean of y, x bar is a mean of x. We have already estimated the x bar and y bar. Why we have estimated? Because in order to derive and regression model equation, we need to calculate a and b. And while calculating the value of a, we need the mean of x and y, and that's why the value of mean of x and y has been estimated. So y is equal to a plus bx, that is a, we have already we have to calculate the value of a, y bar minus b x bar, that is 70 is y bar, minus 2 is b, and 15 is x bar. So we have easily estimated the value of a, that is 40. Now we have estimated the value of a, we have estimated the value of b. Now we can put these two values into the regression model equation, which is equal to a y is equal to a plus b x. Y and x are the variables. So in order to calculate the regression equation of y, we already have a values, that is a plus bx, that is a is 40, 2 is b, and x, because after all we have no values, x has been given. So we just made up an equation that y is equal to 40 plus 2x. Now the question is to calculate the profit or the annual profit of the 6th year. So as on the 6th year, we have already given the cost, or that cost is 6 units. So the profit when expenditure is 6 units, so that means 40 plus 2 into 6 units, which is equal to the 52 rupees. So this is how we can easily calculate the annual profit, because if you look up the question, it is mentioned in the question, when the cost is 6 units, calculate the profit. So we already made up the equation, that is y is equal to 40 plus 2x. Why we have estimated the regression model of y? Because it is already mentioned, if the cost is 6 units, calculate the profit, and y we have to estimate the y, and that's why the regression model equation of y has been estimated. So if any question is being asked from the x, suppose if the annual profit is given on 2020 is 52, and the expenditure for research is not given in the question mark has been given, then we have to formulate the regression equation of x, which is equal to a plus b y. As in the question, the y value is missing, that's why we have formulated the regression equation of you can say y on x. So that's why it's mentioned regression model of y is equal to a plus bx. That's why this equation has been used, and accordingly we have estimated the annual profit, which is equal to 52 rupees. Now we can come up to the most important section, that is the measures of forecast accuracy. The first measure is the mean absolute deviation, which call in short MAD, and the formula that we used under this is actual minus forecast by n. So if the actual values are given, forecast values are given, we just get the difference and divide by n. We get it mean absolute deviation. Next one is the mean absolute percentage error. So when we talk about percentage into 100%, so automatically the formula is of MAPE, actual minus forecast by the actual value, and into 100 by n. That means actual into n. Forecast base, that actual minus forecast by n. So this is how we can estimate the values of the forecast base also. And the next one is the mean squared error. So MSE, that is actual minus forecast, the whole square divided by n. So once we calculate the summation of the differences of the actual and the forecast of the square of these differences, and once we get the total of these differences of the square, then divided by n, we can easily get the mean square error. So these formulas has been used in the following upcoming numerical question. So this is how we can estimate. So in the year 1 to 6 years has been given, actual demand is also given in the question, forecast values are also given in the question. We need to calculate the forecast error, absolute deviation, that in this particular 4 we have to estimate the 4 measures of forecast accuracy. So the forecast error we have to estimate, the absolute deviation we have to estimate. We use the word modulus where the negative signs become positive. Squared deviation we can use, and the absolute percentage error we need to estimate. So forecast error, what is the formula of the forecast error? Is the difference of actual and the forecast. So 330 minus 310 minus 330, it's minus 20. 365 minus 345 is 20, and so on. Now the next step is to calculate the absolute deviation. What was the absolute deviation? Means that the negative signs becomes positive. So we have already estimated the forecast error, that means A minus F, and the negative values has been shown in the absolute deviation column. That negative will become positive, and we use the term called modulus, the difference between of actual demand and forecast values. So this is how we can estimate the absolute deviation. Now we can come up to the squared deviation. As we have already estimated the absolute deviation, so we just square that absolute deviation, we can easily get the squared deviation. So 20 square is 400, 20 square is 400, and so on. So the next step is the absolute error. That means absolute error in percentage. It means the difference between the actual demand and the forecast by, you can say, actual demand. So that means 330 minus 3, you can say 310 minus 330. So automatically we can easily calculate as A minus B, the absolute deviation is already given to us, and we just divide by A, that is 310, that means 20 by 310, 20 by 365, 20 by 395, and 20, and so on. We can easily calculate the absolute percentage error, or in other words we can call absolute error in percentage. So as in the formula is given that the summation of the forecast error, summation of the absolute error deviation, summation of the squared deviation, summation of the, or in the word sigma, absolute error in percentage. We just divide all all the values of sigmas of 4 variables divided by n. What is n here is 6 years. Just the summation, the total of all the 4 variables, just divide by 6, you will get the mean forecast error, that is 0. You will divide by 6 absolute deviation, that is mean absolute deviation, it's 20. If we talk about the squared deviation, the total of squared deviation is 2400. Just divide by 6, you will get the mean squared deviation, that's called 400. Absolute percentage error, that means MAPE, which is equal to the 30.55 divided by 6, you will get the 5.09%. So this is how we just calculated the mean of all the main sections or the main measures of the forecast accuracy. Now we talk about the forecasting patterns in businesses. There is a horizontal pattern, the fluctuation of data at the constant mean basis. Trend, there is systematic increase or decrease in the mean of the various variables. The seasonal or repeatable pattern of increase or decrease in demand depending upon the time period. It could be day, week, month or seasons. Next is cyclical. This should be the less predictable because it gradually increases or decreases. It could be harm for the business organizations over a long period of time. It could be takes years or decades. Next is random. It refers to a changes or the variations in demand that cannot be forecasted as well. So there is a 5 forecasting patterns used in the businesses. Importance of forecasting in business. There is an informed decision making where the potential future outcomes researchers will get an insight about the potential future outcomes, enables managers to make a better decisions about strategies, investments and operations. Resource allocation. Business can also make an accurate plan for the capital, for the staffing, for the inventory needs. Risk reduction, predicting the market shifts, unexpected expenses, any changes in the demand. Business should prepare in advance and take up preventive actions to minimize the negative impact of surprises in the businesses. Next is goal setting. Accurate forecasting are also essential for setting up a realistic and measurable short and long term goals. Next is operational efficiency. It also helps to optimize production, logistic, distribution channels, etc. Next is market insight. It also helps to identify the market trends, the opportunities, the potential gaps which could be used to develop a new products of features which could improve the customer satisfaction and expectations. Next is the financial stability. Forecasting is also crucial for managing the finances, preparing the financial plans so that it reveals a company potential to lenders and investors. Key applications of forecasting and management. It is a financial planning. We can talk about operations management. Financial planning, we just have a future predict of future revenues, cost and profits to inform the budgeting and investment decisions. Operations, we always predict about the production planning for the future. We always predict about the product demand to optimize the inventory levels, preventing both stock out and excess stock as well. Sales and marketing, we also predict the future sales volume to help to achieve the goals of the businesses. Market analysis, so before you predict anything for the future for the market, it is important to anticipate the changes in the consumer behavior, industry trends and economic shifts to adopt the strategies and just stay ahead of the competitors. Strategic planning also, it also helps the organization to anticipate the future challenges and opportunities to develop a proactive strategies. Supply chain management, just ensure the right products reach their destination at the correct time and place by forecasting the demand and supply needs. Next is application of forecasting in operations management. Inventory management, we can talk where we predict the demand to optimize stock levels, both stock out and excess stock. Production planning and scheduling, we just plan to improve the efficiency and reduce waste. Capacity planning, we just ensure that it is enough capacity to meet the future demand without over investing on it. Resource allocation, we just forecast to guide decisions on allocating the resources like labor, material and capital, etc. Next is supply chain coordination. It supports the effective supply chain management for a timely procurement of the raw materials and logistic on the anticipated demand. Next is financial budgeting. Forecasting informs the budgeting to providing the data for the financial planning and resource allocation. Next is risk management. By anticipating the market changes and the potential disruption, forecasting it always helps the businesses to develop the consistency plan, reduce the risk and maintain the business to continue. Customer service. Accurate forecast always helps to ensure that popular products are consistently available, which improves the customer satisfaction and loyalty towards that brand. Now we can come up to the inventory planning. So inventory planning refers to forecasting, ordering, sorting and controlling stock to meet the customer's demand without overspending on the stock, making the inventory management important for the business success. Every business has a responsibility to maintain the balance between having the enough products on hand and avoiding the excess inventory. So effective inventory planning combines numbers with businesses teams, and the responsibility of the team is to analyze the historical sales data, market trends, demand forecasting models, and at the same time it is equally important for the managers to have a depth knowledge of the consumer demand, seasonality and the production schedules. Benefits of the inventory planning: it increased sales, it also reduces the waste material, overstock, over excess stock and it investment on it should reduce such waste, boosted the cash flow. It all gives an access to accurate inventory demand data to reduce the capital tie up in stock. It also reduced the delays and times to market as well. It also improved the customer's experiences, that refers the right amount of stock when needed to eliminate delays, bottlenecks and overselling. Next is improved forward planning. It also limit the impact of the unexpected challenges such as delivery delays. The next important concept is economic order quantity. Economic EOQ stands for economic order quantity. It is a measurement tool used in the field of operations management, logistic and the supply management. So EOQ is a measurement tool used to determine the volume and the frequency of orders required to satisfy a given level of demand while minimizing the cost per order, and that is exactly called the economic order quantity. So economic order quantity is a plan to design to help the companies to minimize the cost per order in order to satisfy the given level of demand after estimating the volume and the frequency of orders required. So EOQ is an exact point that minimizes both of these inversely related costs. Components of the EOQ formula, that is annual quantity demanded, volume per order, ordering cost called a fixed cost, unit cost called a variable cost because it changes according to the changes in production, holding cost, it refers to a variable cost, and the carrying cost, it refers to the interest rate. So this is the formula of ordering cost, that how to calculate the number of orders is demand by quantity, how to calculate the annually ordering cost, demand by quantity into the number of you can say orders. Holding cost, which we need to calculate the annual holding cost, that is Q by 2 into H. H is refers to a holding cost per unit, which is expressed by the cost per unit multiplied by the interest rate, which is also expressed by H is equal to IC. This is the main formula of EOQ, that is delta total cost by delta quantity. And in other words, instead of using up the derivations of total cost and quantity, there is also a simple formula to use up, that is under root, that is 2ST by H, and the components of the SDH is already explained in the previous slide. That's it for today. Thank you so much for listening this lecture. I will come up to the more relevant and important topics in the upcoming session. So till time, thank you and namaste to all.